Hello. Have you ever wanted a better way to understand your inventory balances? I mean, inventory is an investment in cash, and in fact, it might be the largest investment of cash that you have in your business. So it's critically important to understand. It also is the input to all of your brewing activity, which is what generates your revenue. So we need to make sure we have a good finger on the pulse of our inventory balances. But I think oftentimes it's something that's overlooked in a business. Probably a few reasons for that. One of which might be that it's hard to get good inventory information out of your ERP. A lot of times it'll be very detailed, so you'll be able to see maybe for an individual item what it is today, but it's hard to get to a trend for an item or even look at groups of items and see them trend. So what I want to do is show you a Tableau dashboard that would take the data out of your ERP system and summarize it in such a way that makes it very easy to understand what your inventory is today, how it's trended over time, look at it by different categories, also see it by individual items, to give you a really good understanding of what your balances are today, and then how you might want to take some actions to modify them for the future. Okay, so here's our inventory dashboard. This is the summary dashboard. We'll look at a few others also in following videos. So let me get you oriented with what you're looking at. First off, we have just some totals. What we've done is we've categorized each of your individual items into these categories. We have ingredients, we have WIP, we have packaging, and we have finished goods or finished beer. And then what we're doing is we're showing the total amount of dollars. So in this case, because we're comparing items in different categories, and it can be difficult to look at individual quantities across categories, like a single hop is different than a finished keg, right? But they would both count as one. So in this case, we're putting everything to the cost of the inventory, so we can kind of normalize comparisons across groups. Again, there's other dashboards that would look at it down. When we're looking at a single item, it would break it down by quantities more. But in this case, we're looking at dollars. Okay, so this is just showing the total dollars invested in each one of your categories. Now we're going to look at a trend over time. So this is going back a full year. And we're going to see what the inventory was at the start of the period, which looks to be about $60,000. And then what it is today, which is $124,000. So in this sample data source, this business has invested and almost doubled their inventory up to $124,000. If we were to look at it now by breaking it down a little bit further, so we have each of those categories we looked at earlier, but now we're just taking it down one more level. So when it comes to finished goods or finished beer, we're looking at how much inventory do we have of canned beer and then kegged. And then again, we're breaking down ingredients into hops, malt, and then other. Packaging for us is going to go into label or other. And then we have our WIP categories down here also. So we can get a good picture of where our dollars are invested. In this case, most of our investment is in hops, where we have $50,000 of hops currently. All right, so that's interesting to see what it is today. But then usually the next question is, well, what has it done over time? Is $50,000 for hops a normal investment for us, or is that unusual? So now we can look at this trend graph over here. And all that's doing is showing a snapshot, a trend of each week for the last year. So to answer that question we had about hops is we can see, whoa, we used to normally trend maybe in the $20,000 to $30,000 range, but we made a big investment in January, which we've slowly been burning down since then. So we're able to see if something spiked up or something spiked down, kind of in this case, or if they're just kind of a revolving pattern with some of these. For example, this other packaging, which might be when we're buying cans, we buy a set of cans maybe every 2 months, and then we burn them down, and then we buy another set, which would be what you're kind of looking at in this trend here. Okay, so let's take it down another level. So now we're going to look at it by location. So for this sample data source, this brewery only has like one main building, but this is breaking it down now by like inventory location within that building. So you can see how those look, and most of it is in some of our cold storage up here. And similar to what we saw up top, we have a fair amount of inventory of hops right now, and we keep those in the cold storage. So that's why we see that the largest. And this follows a similar trend also to what we saw above. Others, for example, grain mill storage. We used to have more in this area. We were up at $3,000-$4,000, but more recently we've been down at like $2,000. Okay, and then finally we're just going to look at individual items and see which items we have the most inventory of today. So you'll notice, and it's probably not a big surprise from what we saw earlier, most of these are in the hops category, but we also have a few in the other category, which is part of packaging. So that's like cans and can ends down here. And then like all of the other ones we've looked at, we can see what the trend is over time. So we can see, is this an unusual inventory amount for us, or is it something that's normal? So I think this is a good summary of taking a lot of data. So we have like 2 years of data at the individual item level and be able to look at it at a very high level, but then also break it down to a low level. So you get a very good understanding of your overall inventory position. And then you're able to understand, is it always that way, or do we have something unusual going on? And then ideally, you can use this information to then plan for future purchases or future brewing capacity and keep your inventory in a good spot. All right, so that was our inventory summary dashboard. Just to reiterate what we were doing there is we took all that raw data out of your ERP and we were able to create some good summaries, show what inventory looks like today, what it's been over time, the individual categories and items that you have the most invested in, and also see what locations in your building your inventory sits in. So I hope that was an interesting look at how you can make all that raw data more useful. If you have any questions on this, and more importantly, if you'd like to see some of your inventory information plugged into a dashboard like this, and then have it track going forward, please contact me. My email is jeremy@centralcoast-analytics.com. And that email is jeremy@centralcoast-analytics.com. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.